All right. Hello, my name is Sylvia Sadowski, and I'd like to welcome you to our PED Lunch and Learn about owning your development and learning about development opportunities in a virtual world. A few notes before we begin. This Lunch and Learn will be recorded, and please ensure that your microphones are muted. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, so you can use the chat function to list out any questions, and our presenters will try to answer those questions as best as they can. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Marty Hazell, Director of Strategic Initiatives, for an introduction and to introduce today's speaker. Over to Marty.
Hi, thanks, Sylvia. And again, welcome everyone. I think this is our 5th PED Lunch and Learn for 2020. And I think there's some more to come. So today, as we approach the upcoming PAD season, we're going to be talking more about learning and development, and for our people leaders to always be encouraging their employees to learn and grow and to be the best that they can be. Today, we're going to talk about owning your development, not leaving your personal learning and development to chance. I really do believe that it's critical to success that we take ownership of our personal development. And I can tell you throughout my career, I've always had my own vision and ideas about what courses and learning experiences that I wanted to pursue in order to take me where I wanted to go. I always developed my own self-development goals and plans and shared them proactively with my manager during my annual PAD reviews. And of course, because of COVID, we may have hit some roadblocks. There's no classroom training. Discretionary training funds are being frozen at least until the 2021 budget to figure out where we are with the budget. But that doesn't mean we simply halt all of our efforts at developing ourselves until things get back to normal. I can tell you that even at my stage in my career, I'm constantly learning and developing, but I've had to adjust in recent months. In the past few months, in addition to the many readings that I do, I've signed up for all kinds of WebEx learning sessions and workshops, most of which are free. I've also become addicted to watching TED Talks and listening to podcasts. This is Jack Welch. He's the former CEO of General Electric when it was the largest company in the world. He was crowned CEO of the century, and he always placed heavy importance on developing people in GE. He attributed much of GE's success, in fact, under his leadership, their emphasis on developing people. He said that people development should be a daily event integrated into every aspect of your regular goings on. And he held their directors accountable from his divisions for ensuring that their people were continuing development. And of course, we recognize this importance at the city as well. Our strategic plan includes our people and performance, and investing in people, in developing our people is one of our strategic priorities. And our general manager, Jason, has reinforced us by setting expectations for all people leaders that comprehensive, tailored development plans be created for every staff member. So during our PAD process, we're encouraged to have quality conversations with our managers, and essentially we need to address two questions. What do I need to do to develop in order to meet the requirements of my current role? And what do I need to develop in order to achieve my work and career plans? And based on what was discussed and agreed to, your development plan should outline how you plan to accomplish your development goals and how your manager intends to support you. So again, I think it's absolutely critical to our success that we don't leave our self-development to chance. And my advice to you, I feel strongly about this, is that you should own your self-development and don't wait for your manager to tell you what to do. So today we have some information to help you prepare for your self-development plans and be ready to have quality conversations with your managers as part of your upcoming PAD. So this is Dan Frewin from Human Resources. Welcome, Dan. Dan's an organizational development and learning specialist. He joined the city in 2019. And before that, Dan spent 12 years with Loblaws, enjoying his roles as manager of learning development, manager of leadership development, and a lead facilitator for Loblaws Cultural Change Initiative. Dan has worked with all levels of organizations, creating, designing, and delivering learning to support strategic objectives and cultures. Welcome, Dan. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Marty. So thank you and hello. First of all, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here today and to share some of this information with you. My goal kind of over the next little bit is to provide you with some opportunities and some information, some of the things that you might be aware of, some things you might not, but some information to really help you own your development. I know that nobody is sick of COVID right now, so as a result, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about COVID with you and using it as examples. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit with you. I'm just going to share my my screen here, share a presentation with you. Just give me 1 second here. But I want to talk a little bit about perspective to start things off. Just give me 1 second to pull this up. Sorry. Okay, awesome. So I know that a lot of us have had a birthday through COVID times. We've been through the process for almost a year. And I can't really see everybody at once, but I'm sure that some of you may have felt a little bit like this come birthday time. We've got things like coronavirus ruined my birthday, people crying, the guy sleeping on her cake. And the big thing with this is it's the perspective that people chose to look at their birthday around COVID. And certainly COVID has changed the way that we look at birthdays, but a lot of it is our perspective and what we choose to do with it that's made the difference. So I want to show you this slide here and kind of illustrate a different example. These are different examples of the ways that people have viewed COVID and done something about their birthday. And the difference between the first example and this example is that these people took a different perspective, decided to look at it differently, and to do something about it. So there's no, there's no denying that COVID has put some restrictions on the level of training, like Marty was talking about, budgetary in-person classes and those types of things. But that doesn't mean that we're entirely handicapped when it comes to owning our development. A lot of it is perspective and the way that we look at it. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to introduce a couple tools that might be helpful to you. I find these tools extremely useful. I spent 3 years at Loblaw helping them roll out a new culture change initiative. And what they were trying to do was to shift their culture. So I was facilitating courses for that. The tools that I'm going to share with you, two of these tools are absolutely fantastic tools that I use in everyday life. And I wanted to share them with you. Not only can they be used outside of owning your development, but I think they're a great way to illustrate how our perspective can really change and help us to get things done. So in the training that I did, we call this the accountability ladder. And I just want to walk through what this ladder illustrates for people. So there's different levels. If we're looking at the bottom of the ladder, we're talking about victim behaviors, and that's where we let things happen to us. When we get to the top of the accountability ladder, we're talking about more accountable behaviors, and we're making things happen because of us rather than letting things happen to us. So I'm going to get you guys to do something, and I might ask for a couple of people to share out after this, but I just want you to think for a minute. I want you to think, when you think about your development, I want you to place yourself in the frame of mind on that lower rungs of the ladder. Blame others, personal excuses, I can't, wait and hope. And I want you to just take 30 seconds. That's all it's going to take, is 30 seconds. And I want you to be in this mindset and jot down reasons why you can't own your developer, move your development forward right now. What are some things that are preventing you, whether they be personal excuses, reasons why you can't, waiting and hoping, blaming other people, blaming situations. But I want you to actually see these in front of you. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds just to jot those things down, and then I'll come back to you. And I would actually like to hear a couple of people maybe share out what a couple of those things are. So 30 seconds, jot down some things that are preventing you from owning your development. In that mindset of wait and hope, I can't, personal excuses, or blame others. Okay, I'll stop you there. That was probably even less than 30 seconds. I saw a couple of things come up in chat. I saw budget constraints pop up. But is there anybody that will share a couple? What are a couple of things that you've written down? Don't be shy. Feel free to take yourself off mute and just share. What are some reasons why you can't own your development?
Workload.
Workload. Perfect. What else? Time. Got that in chat. Awesome. Maybe two more. Don't know what is permitted or where to start. Awesome. One more. We're so busy developing others, we forget to develop ourselves. Fantastic. So here's a couple really quick examples of this. And in less than 30 seconds, we were able to pretty easily come up with some of these examples. The examples keep coming. I love it. Technology restrictions. It's pretty easy to come up with these examples. It's pretty easy for us to get in this mindset where we feel stuck. But I want to show you something else. Now I want you to think about, you've spent this time on the bottom rungs of the ladder, wait and hope, I can't, personal excuses, and blame others. How much progress have you made towards your development plan when you're in this thinking? The answer is zero, right? You make absolutely no process. We get stuck, but we waste valuable time and energy on the bottom rungs of these ladders. How many of you on a given day at work will sit there and say, God, I'm bored, I wish I had more work to do? Exactly, none of us, but we're wasting valuable time and energy on the bottom rungs of the ladder. I want to take you up these kind of next rungs. What if we start at acknowledge reality and we say, okay, there's budget restrictions in place, there's time restrictions in place, there's in-person meeting restrictions in place. What if we embrace that? And then what if we go on to finding solutions? So we're in a different mindset now. We're making things happen. We acknowledge the reality that it is, we embrace it, and we find solutions. I'll take you back to the birthday example. The first picture, those people were spending time on the bottom rung. The second set of pictures, those people acknowledged the reality of what it is. They embraced it and they found solutions, and you saw a lot of different solutions on that page. So I'm going to give you the exact same amount of time. I want you to take 30 seconds and just jot down what are some solutions in this time of certain restrictions that we can come up with. And just brainstorm. It can be anything, it can be simple, it can be large, but take 30 seconds to jot down what are some solutions that you can do to own your development and make things happen for you or because of you. 30 seconds to do that. And same thing, I'd love to hear some examples. Feel free to throw them in the chat as well. Perfect. Okay. Speak to manager about options available. Lunch and learn is something that I saw. Engaging others, getting assistance from others. Anything else that people can think of? Develop a plan. Absolutely. Start with a plan. So here's the thing, is I gave you guys the exact same amount of time. In fact, I probably gave you a little bit less in finding solutions. However, we're starting to see solutions come up. Now, how much progress are we making towards starting to think about our development plans? We're actually moving forward. So if we spend that time on the bottom rungs of the ladder, we make absolutely zero progress. If we spend those times on the upper rungs of the ladder, we start to make progress, and it's a valuable use of our time. The majority of our time can really be spent on finding solutions and making it happen. So the last thing I really want to say about this ladder, and then I'll come back to it a little bit later and touch on it, is imagine what life would be like if we were able to chop off these bottom rungs of the ladder and start more situations at acknowledging reality, embracing it, and finding solutions. And that's what really today is about, is I want to show you some solutions. I want to show you some great things that are available for you to help own your development. The second thing that I want to show you is just this circle that's over here real quick, and I just want to touch on this real quick. There's three different circles. There's things that we have within our control, there's things that we have within our influence, and there are things that are of concern. The control circle is pretty small because in reality, there's very few things in our life that we have absolute control over, right? I can control, for the most part, my son might disagree, but my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, those types of things, okay? So very limited sphere of control. As that gets bigger, there's more things I can influence, but there sure are a ton of things in the world that I may be concerned about, but that I have no control over. So we can use a quick example of this. We can use COVID as an example. Do I have the ability to wipe out COVID worldwide? Absolutely not. Is it a concern of mine? Sure is, but there's nothing that I can do about it. So if I go back to the circle of control for that, what are things that I can do? Well, I can control myself as far as self-isolation goes. I can control myself by ensuring that I wear a mask. I can control myself by ensuring I wash my hands. And the list can go on and on. Those are things that I can personally control. I can influence the situation. I may be able to influence others by ensuring my sons wear masks. If I see people not following social distancing or those types of protocols, I can mention it to them. Those are things that I can influence. So if we spend the majority of our time working on things and focusing on things that are within our control or influence, we're going to be a lot more productive than worrying about things that are beyond our absolute control. But unfortunately, we spend a lot of time worrying about those things that are of concern and not within our control. So those are the things that I really wanted to kind of set up to talk about some of the development options that are available to you. I want us to be thinking about those accountable mindsets, making things happen to us, and really focusing on things that are within our control and our influence, and maybe letting go some of those things that are just of concern to us. One of the other things that I wanted to touch on real quick is that training is not a Band-Aid. And I've been in learning and development for a long time, and I'm guilty of it myself. Is I need to learn something, training is the answer. Something's not working properly, training is the answer. Whatever it is, training is not the answer. And although training can be an integral part of development plans, it's really such a small piece of it. So I wanted to spend a little bit more time on that. I'll give you a great example of necessarily training not being the answer. Is when I was with Loblaw, I went on a week-long course on how to develop e-learnings. Fantastic course. Huge investment from the company, not only in the cost of the course, but also in me being away from the business. Learned a lot during the training. But one of the things that I faced is that I came back and never actually did anything with the training after that. I want you to think back to some of the training courses that you've attended in the past. How many of you have attended a training session before, thought the training was great, but then we get back to our desk, we put the binder for that training away, and we never ever look at those materials again? I'm going to put 2 hands up for that because I'm extremely guilty of it, and I'm in learning and development. And all too often that happens. And that's one of the things that we really want to ensure that we tackle when we're looking at our development plans. Is though training can be a piece of it, it's actually a small component of it, and we need to make sure that we take the action to do things post-training. And that's where we talk about our 70-20-10 development framework. You may be familiar with this. This is posted all over Howie in our development materials, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. But basically what this spells out is the proportions for helping you to have a robust development plan. And when we look at it, really only 10% of this is through formal training, formal learning. I know this says in person, we can disregard that, but whether it be online or reading in blogs. The majority of our development is going to come from learning through others, whether it be mentoring from an expert, feedback or coaching from leaders, job shadowing. And then the bulk of our learning is actually going to be coming through experience, stretch assignments, delegated duties. So if I go back to that e-learning course that I took when I was at Loblaw, I had a fantastic 10% experience, but what I neglected to do was to incorporate any of the 20 or 70 and to really practice it on the job. And unfortunately with training, it is the type of situation where if you don't use it, you lose it. And so a lot of that valuable information that I learned happens to be gone at this point. So we'll talk a little bit more about this and how you can get into the 20 and 70% a little bit more. I just wanted to briefly identify. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the city has spent a lot of time, and I feel very fortunate to be working for the city of Hamilton. I've had the opportunity to work at several organizations, and the city has really spent a lot of time and effort in ensuring that people are set up for success when it comes to their development plans. One of the things that we've done is helping people to identify short and long-term goals. So, what are the things that I'm going to look at working on in the immediate term? And how are those going to support my long-term career goals? really flushing out the different stages that people want to be in. Some people want to step in, stay in place, step up to a new role, step across, step back, step out. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go along about how you can have these conversations with your leader or with people that report into you to really help them identify what career stage they're in and what career stage they're aspiring to get to, because that will really feed the development plans that you're going to be developing. So when we're talking about supporting a robust development plan, and we go back to this accountability ladder, when we look at the 10%, we have limitations that are on us right now. There's only so much online learning and those types of things that we can do. And we can spend that time at the bottom rungs of those ladders, the wait and hope I can, or person excuses, or we can find solutions. So I'm going to share a real quick example with you of some different things that we can do with this. So I'm going to go back to that e-learning example, because luckily with the City of Hamilton, one of the things that I'm going to be doing a lot of is a lot of e-learning development. And I've thought a lot about that course that I went to and how I didn't do anything about it. And I thought about, man, would I ever like to take that course again? And would I ever love to actually do something with it? Well, unfortunately, with the restrictions that we have in place, in-person training is not available, and there's also not budget. So I'm going to share something super quick with you and just show you an example of something that I found by simple searching, and it is such an extremely valuable resource that I have. So through very minor learning, I found this site called Articulate e-learning Heroes. And this is a site that is dedicated to e-learning development professionals. There's videos, there's tutorials, there's an entire e-learning for beginners book right on the front page of things that I can download. So this is just a really simple example of ways that we can think outside of the box when it comes to owning our development. The cool thing with this is that I can access this material anytime I want. I can search for things individually. I can learn on my own time. I can learn at my own pace. I can really tailor what I want to learn to myself. Some other examples of things that I've done, or things that we can do when we get into that 10% or 70 and 20, and really thinking outside of the box, is identifying some things that are available to us. So when we're finding solutions, whether it be mentorship opportunities, whether it be a team resume, finding out what the people that you work with are really, really skilled at and tapping into that knowledge. One of the fantastic things about my team is there's 4 organizational development and learning specialists, and we all bring such a wide range of skills to the team that it's really comprehensive. But we all have a level of expertise that we bring to the situation as well. And we've done a great job of partnering with each other in order to develop those mentorship capabilities. And knowing what other people's expertise is, and what you want to do can help you partner with those people to develop those mentorship type of opportunities. So I want to take a little bit of time to kind of show you some of the things that are already mapped out for you to help you find some of these solutions. When you leave here today, I want this to just kind of be the launching pad for you. I don't want this to be the be all end all. I want this to be the launching pad for, okay, we've had this lunch and learn. We've learned about a little bit about development plans and how we need to take ownership of our own development plans. Now what? And so I'm going to give you a bit of a teaser on some of these things. And my challenge to you is that you actually take the time post lunch and learn to explore some of these things. This can be the what are you going to do as a result of this lunch and learn type of activities. So a couple quick things that have been developed that I just want to highlight for you is the career development guide. And I'll real quickly walk through what the career development guide does for you, but basically it outlines learning options connected to the city's core competencies, including suggestions, and they're all broken down in the 70-20-10 framework. The leadership profile, which outlines the accountabilities and responsibilities for each level of the organization. And then there's also a ton of information that's available on Howie. If you haven't had a chance to explore it, I was going to try and show you guys Howie today, but unfortunately Howie's down, which falls into that circle of things that are not within my control. But I would really encourage you to explore Howie and look at it a little bit further. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop for a moment sharing, and I'm just going to go into the career development guide just to make sure that you're familiar with what this looks like, and just highlight a couple of the key things that you can look for. And I apologize in advance with Howie being down. I had to pull this up kind of on a back way, so it's running through the internet right now, and it might be a little bit slow loading, but I'll do my best to guide you through. So if you haven't visited the Career Development Guide, this is your landing page. There's all sorts of things that are available to you. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of clicks that I do just for functionality, but it'll tell you what's in this guide and how to use it, how to go about navigating the guide. There's information here on setting your goals and how to structure your career development plan. Tons of information available to you. But I wanted to actually take a moment and get in and show you quickly some of the actual learning pieces of it. So let's say, for example, I'm interested in corporate learning. I'm going to click on corporate learning, and again, it might take a minute for me to open it up. And here are our competencies here. I'm interested in effective communication. So I'm going to click on effective communication. Let's say that I'm a people leader, so I'm going to select my role as a people leader. And what this brings up for me is this brings a list of all the courses that are available. This career development guide has just been updated. I just did the update a few weeks ago and sent it to IT. So all of the courses that are currently available are listed here. Anything that's unavailable due to the pandemic is blanked out. But there's a couple really cool things here that I want you to focus on. Not only does this show you the actual courses that are available to you, which is fantastic, it'll show you that 10% piece that you need to do, but there's also been a lot of effort involved in mapping out the 20 and 70% for you as well, so that if you're looking for development ideas and you're stuck, all you have to do, and this is in place for every single competency, is you have to click on that. It'll explain what the competency means for me. And then there's 70% learn and develop through experience examples and 20% learn and develop through other examples. So a lot of information already available to you if you're stuck, if you're looking for ideas, and these are in place for each of our core competencies. Just go back. The other thing that I wanted to show you real quick, and a lot of people aren't aware that this exists, is if you click on living our core competencies, one of the things that's available on the career development guide is there's some actual, I guess we call them leader-led on-the-job activities. And under the resources tab, there is a whole slew of leader-led on-the-job activities. So for example, if I was to click developing the frontline effective communication and actually open this up, actually, you're not going to be able to see it because I'm sharing here, but this will actually give you activities that you can do as a leader to help practice some of these things. So I would encourage you to explore the resources tab and all of these resources that are available for you too. The last thing that I wanted to show you real quickly, just being mindful of time, was I wanted to click on a course and just give you an example of some of the other things that are available to you. So there's a Harvard Managed Mentor site, which has tons of courses listed on it, and a lot of our courses are tied to that. I would strongly encourage you to check that out. You do need, if you don't have a login, you do need a login information for that. There's a process to follow. When you click on this, it'll take you through the process to do it. But the great thing about this site is that they have learning really broken down into bite-sized pieces. There's videos, there's articles, there's assessments, there's even plans to help you put what you've learned in place over 30, 60, 90, 120-day periods. So some fantastic information for you to really poke around and play with. And again, all this is listed on Howie. Once Howie gets back up, I would encourage you to just type Career Development Guide in the search bar and to really take some time exploring this. Sorry, I'm just watching my time here. Okay. Sorry, just give me 1 second and I'll get back into this. One of the other things that I just want to highlight real quickly for you as I bring back up the presentation is one of the things that we're bringing forward, and some of you may not be used to the terminology of it, but we've introduced or are introducing what's called a learning management system. And basically what that is I like to describe it as the career development guide on steroids. It's something that will really kind of take our learning and development and career development to the next level. I'll show you real quick kind of some of the quick things that it does for us, and then talk to you a little bit about timelines and what you can expect as far as that goes. Sorry, I'm not used to the screen sharing at the same time as this. Okay. So learning management system. So when RFP went out for the learning management system, we got all our responses back in August, and the RFP closed. Our team has done a lot of work, a ton of work. Nancy, Anya has done a lot of work in kind of narrowing down the process and for the selection. And the selection should be made within the next couple of weeks. So the decision will be in November with an announcement out to the organization by the end of the year. We'll be looking at starting to roll this learning management system out in January, with it to be ready for corporate use kind of mid-year, but there'll be detailed timelines. One of the great things about the learning management system is that it's all encompassing. It'll really allow you to track your career path, your development goals. It can be tailored to specific business units. The functionality of it is absolutely immense. So it's really just another massive tool that it's going to be available to us to not only own our learning and development, but also to own our career path. The last thing that I just wanted to really talk to you a little bit about, and this is just a snapshot of it, is I took a quick snapshot of our Howie page for supporting my team's development, which can be accessed from the main site. And just to give you another quick example of all the different things that are available to you in one place. So on this one page alone, we have our career mobility discussion guide. We have a 70-20-10 learning framework. We even have examples of robust development plans that are broken down into the 70-20-10 framework if you're looking for examples or are not quite sure how to do it. A link to the career mobility discussion guide, a link to our core competencies. There's the link to the career development guide, and also our leadership profile. The other thing that I wanted to highlight on this page was that simple email address at the bottom, learning@hamilton.ca. We're here to support you in your learning goals. So if you have any problems, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, I would encourage you to utilize that email address with anything that you're looking to find or any information that you need. And we will definitely do our best to get back to you as soon as possible and answer any of the questions that you have. I know that was a bit of a rush, and I whipped through some of this stuff, but one of the things that I was just really trying to highlight for you is that we really have a choice on what we do with our development. We can sit back and wait for things to happen to us or make excuses for why things can't happen, or we can make things happen for us. And the second part was I just really wanted to show you the lengths that the City of Hamilton has gone to help support you in taking ownership of your own career development. A lot of things are laid out here before you. It's just something that you'll need to have some fun exploring. With that was my quick rundown on owning your development plan and some of the resources that are available to you. Sylvia, I will pass it back to you and I'll stop sharing.
Great, thanks for that, Dan. So I'm just going to load up my portion of the presentation here. And full screen. So I'm hoping that you guys can see this slide. Can you guys see the triangle? Dan, can you see that? Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks. So this slide might look a little bit familiar. Dan has let me use his slide, and use it to expand a little bit about the 70-20-10 model and what this model looks like for somebody in PED. So to recap what Dan said, 70% of your knowledge is from job-related experiences. 20% is from interactions with others like coworkers and managers, and 10% is from learning events like courses or webinars. So in the next few slides, I'm going to go through each segment to help provide some examples and suggestions for opportunities that are available, either corporately or departmentally. So starting with the 10%, this is the formal training and courses. So a few corporate opportunities that are available are Cutting Edge of Leadership. I believe that this program has gone virtual since the pandemic began. We also have Harvard Managed Mentor, Spark, as Dan had mentioned, The Working Mind, Customer Service and Email Training, Workplace Mental Health Leadership, and we also have a handful of PED initiatives that are also available. And those include Future Ready, Report Writing Capacity, Budgeting 101, and Going from Managing Yourself to Managing Others. So it's important to keep in mind that this is the smallest bulk of your learning and development plan. And the 20% is learning through others and developing relationships. So a few PED initiatives that we really wanted to highlight here are our e-mentoring network. This program was created this year, and it's in place so that we can match up, connect staff members with other staff members who have experience in different types of topics. Topics could be ranging from policy development, from strategic planning, goal setting, and etc. So this is available to anybody, and you can be paired up with a mentor, a senior mentor, who is there to help you develop some relationships, provide some advice. So that's a really good program that we wanted to highlight. A couple other programs are the Budget Mentee Program, Communities of Practice, PED Leadership Tutorials, PED Talk Series, our PED Lunch and Learns like we are having today, and PED Builds. So you can take part in any of these initiatives, like for instance, planning a lunch and learn, or even attending one of these initiatives. And here you can form relationships and network with coworkers or even community members. And the last segment is the 70%, which is learning through experience and doing. So it's when you're learning from challenging assignments, undertaking special projects, and taking on increased responsibilities in your current role. So how can you do that? So some examples that we've thought of are becoming a mentor yourself, onboarding new team members, and this one that I'm particularly very excited about is that you can take on a larger role in the Our People survey, which will be launching next year. There's lots of opportunity for helping support your division, helping support the department, and really doing great things for the launch of the new survey next year. So you can get involved in that. And also getting involved in committees across the department, like the Employee Engagement Committee, the Social Committee, 25 Years of Service subcommittee as well. And there's also the City Lab project, which is a corporate-wide initiative where they're looking for projects that pair up staff members with students from various institutions across the city that work and develop skills for the students as well as for yourselves. So these are just a few examples that are within that guide that Dan had mentioned. So to close, I also wanted to say that there's so much that you can do in terms of owning your learning and development. The first step is deciding what your goals are and what competencies it is that you want to develop, and then using the 7-20-10 model to guide your journey throughout your development. So as Dan pointed out earlier, if you haven't already seen the Career Development Guide, it's accessible through a Howie account, and there you'll find an abundance of opportunities that you can use for your learning. So this leads us into our Q&A session. I'm just going to close my screen. If you have any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can write your question within the chat feature.
I have a question. It's Jessica.
Jessica, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. What has been great this year, I think, is Jason's emails in terms of mentoring, books, all that type of thing. Is there a place where we can find that all together instead of in individual emails, where we can go and see all the resources that you, Marty, and him have provided to us?
Great question, Jessica. Thanks for your question. So yes, we are currently working with comms on creating one folder where we have all of the communications that Jason sends out for future reference. It's difficult right now without having a single platform due to resources. It'd be great to have a place where we can put everything, but we're working on what's called a PED communications folder, and everybody will have access to that. And that's kind of where we'll be storing everything for future reference, as well as for new hires and onboarding purposes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Sylvia.
Is there any other questions?
Sorry, Sylvia, it's George. I have a question.
Go ahead, George.
So I'll just ask it. Marty and Dan, so I hate to sound like I'm on the bottom rungs of the ladder, but how do you actually find the time? Like I do outside work for other associations and, city work, and with the current pandemic, it's busier than usual. But I remember prior to the pandemic, I took advantage of the Harvard management courses and actually racked up a lot of the courses. But with the current pandemic and the enormous amount of emails, tasks, I find it hard to actually try to manage my own development. I mean, my manager, Alvin Chan's been great. He's been helping me out. But again, just finding the time, right?
So I'll take the first shot at that. So George, did you eat yesterday?
I ate late in the day because I worked right through. And
yeah, but you found time for that because it was important to you. And I think that's what we always have to think about. I have lots of reading to do, and just some weeks I don't get to it, but other weeks I spend some more time at it. Sometimes, I'm sitting waiting for the dentist, and I'm doing my readings. It's not perfect. Sometimes I'll try and schedule an hour here and there to do it, but it's something it's really important, and we have to make time for it. I know that's easy to say, and it's not easy, but that's the answer. We have to make time for this stuff.
Dan, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah. The one thing that came to mind, and thanks for your question, is in my mind, I think there's a lot of there's definitely disadvantages that have come from COVID and the work situation, but there are a lot of advantages that have come from it as well. And it's kind of forcing us to be a lot more virtual and a lot more digital. So when we think about things that are available to us, they're actually naturally, just because online learning is a lot harder to do in large chunks, they're actually naturally broken down into smaller bite-sized chunks. So if we go to Harvard Management Mentor, it's a 15-minute video, it's a 20-minute video, it's a 7-minute article, those types of things. And so they're kind of quick steals that we can take. Whereas before we'd have to dedicate at least a full day to training and the follow-up on all those other things. I think there's a lot of little opportunities that are available to us. Once we start sourcing them out, the more of those that we'll find. And it actually makes it a lot easier to fit some of those quick things in, if that helps.
Thanks, Dan. It does. Actually, someone privately messaged me and said, Marty, no offense to you, but we can't go without eating. So, that's something that's necessary. Harvard learning, right? So.
Thank you for your question, George. Is there any other questions?
Okay, I hate to ask another question, but I guess in terms of previous to the pandemic, we had opportunities to be mentored in the office. It was more feasible in terms of getting together. How would you say what are some good ways we could go around getting that 20% learning from others, being mentored portion?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When I'm gonna refer you back to that accountability ladder, and that's why I brought that in. And I'm more than happy to share that because honestly, that tool is so helpful with so many things. But one of the things that I would honestly suggest is to write down, use the bottom rungs of the ladder, and spend a couple minutes talking about what's stopping you from finding mentorship opportunities. So what's missing, those things that in the office that are not available to you anymore. And then once those are identified, it'll make it a lot easier to say, okay, what are solutions that I can find to this? I mean, if we even think about, something like this lunch and learn, one of my development goals, simply because I haven't been with the city for a long time, is to get out and meet more people. And so this is an ideal opportunity for me to get out and get to know people a little bit better, get them to understand what I'm doing. But if we can really identify the things that are stopping us from doing it, that'll help us find those solutions to start doing things. And if once we start looking at the solutions, you'll be amazed at how quickly we come up. That list will just grow and grow and grow. And we can also ask our coworkers, people that we work with, hey, do you know of any opportunities? And someone might say, yeah, I've got this meeting here. I've got this opportunity here. So share what you're looking for with other people as well. Those would be my suggestions.
Thanks, Dan.
Sorry, Sylvia, I have a follow-up question.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, Marty and Dan, I was wondering, like, would the city be open, and maybe it's a managerial thing, but to sort of allot like an hour or two to staff a week, or whatever, a month, to sort of take part in these Harvard manager courses or any other courses to help them out with self-development? That way they're not using the family time and anything else on the weekend or whatever. Like, has there been discussion about that, maybe? Marty or Dan?
I'll push that one to Marty.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the corporate policy is, but I know I certainly always encourage people to learn and develop, and certainly it has to be some balance. If you're running for deadlines, I wouldn't want to squeeze it in, but I always encourage people to make time while they're through their normal work day. And I know for me, my entire career, my managers have always encouraged me to use appropriate city time to learn and develop as I can.
And I would just, the only other thing I would say with that, because I think we all struggle with that. It's like I said, when I was speaking, none of us sit there and say, God, I'm bored. I wish I had more work to do. It's really about really tackling those things that are important to us. So what value do I put on my learning and development? We have I've learned about a concept called blue chips. Those are the things that are the most important to me in my life, right? Blue chips are my family, my career, my health, those types of things. And so I always find time to make sure that I devote time to those blue chips. The white chips are the things that are not as important, but they take up a lot of time. They don't give me as much bang for the buck, but they take up a lot of time. So it might be, rearranging some of those things that maybe are not as important or don't add as much value. And it's kind of the old adage: if I make more money, I spend more money. If I make less money, I spend less money, right? If I block off that half an hour in my calendar and don't allow anybody to book it, then it's dedicated time for me, and I've got it, and I'll find a way to make it work.
No, I appreciate responses. Thanks, Marty and Dan.
Sylvia, can I jump in? It's Anya.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Anya.
Great. I just want to also give a plug for the PAD process and making sure that you're having those conversations with your leader and creating a really robust learning and development plan for yourself. So there's no reason why it can't be a part of the PAD. You know, if you're spending some time identifying the competencies and the skills that you're looking to develop to, you know, help you in your present day role or that future role that you want to get, make sure that you're having that conversation with your leader. Talk about the 70, the 20, and the 10, and really formulate a plan to do that. You know, and to Marty and Dan's point, you know, carve out time in your schedule to do that and have that conversation with your leader around, you know, how that's going to happen. So we don't corporately have a, you know, everybody gets 1 hour to dedicate to learning a week kind of policy or approach. But really it's based on your own needs and that conversation and planning that you're doing with your leader, you know, at the PAD and in your regular check-ins.
Yeah, Sylvia, I just make a couple of final points. So I know the other day I was meeting after meeting after meeting. I was exhausted. So rather than go have a nap, I spent 20 minutes and listened to a podcast and recharged. So it was, you know, I was unproductive. I was tired. And that's how I took my break. So I sometimes squeeze them into the day. Sometimes I schedule, but it doesn't always work. And on the 20 and 70%, this is where I'm really a huge supporter. I've taken many courses over the years, and I thought they were all great. Probably got a lot out of them. But when you hear me talk and tell stories, it's always about the things the experiences I've gone through, the things I've learned from other people. Those are the lessons that really stick. And for me, that's what's advanced my career. And, you know, I always went in proactively with a draft plan of what I wanted to take when I went into a PAD review. And I know a lot of the times my director wasn't prepared for the discussion, so I got what I wanted. Hey, that sounds good, Marty. I got what I wanted because they weren't prepared and I filled the void there. So that always worked for me. And, you know, I would go in and say, hey, I know there's this big issue coming up next year. If there's any way I could get involved, if there's any opportunities, you know, and I always plant that seed and they'd come to me and say, hey, Marty, could you do this? I know you're interested. So it's those kinds of great discussions I've had over the years and gone in prepared on my PAD review to talk about the things that I want to do and where I wanted to go. And, you know, it was something that I credited being successful to, because I'd always go into my PADs prepared. I never left anything to chance.
Thank you. So this leaves us with a few other questions that I have here in the chat. They're all the same question, and it's basically, can we share the copy of this presentation? And absolutely we will. In one of the upcoming emails from Jason, this video recording will be included in the email. So keep an eye out for that. And you can go ahead and share it with your staff members who weren't able to join us today. And so to close off, as always, if you have a project or initiative in mind that you're working on and would like to showcase in one of our PED Lunch and Learn events, feel free to reach out to myself or Marty or anybody on the Employee Engagement Committee. And we're always welcoming new ideas and looking to showcase your projects, interesting, innovative stuff that's going on across PED, but as well as across the organization. So with that, this brings our Lunch and Learn to an end. Thank you very much to our speaker, Dan Frewin, for your presentation, and to Marty Hazell for adding your input as well. And thank you to the audience. You guys have been really great. So with that, have a great day.
Thanks to you too, Sylvia. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.